I saw last night on Discovery. They showed a like a storm show, like they do the storm chasey kind of shows, but because people have so much technology now on their phones and there's cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
I saw stuff I never saw before of tornadoes. They were just showing like Cedar Rapids, and they were just showing like this storm coming through, and everybody in the town who had gotten it on their phones watching like roofs fly off.
Oof.
It was intense.
I was watching a thing once on the just local news. There was some horrible storm, and some guy, two people lost their homes. And they just interviewed them back to back, and one guy was like, "We lost everything. We lost." He was just like losing it. And then they got another guy. He's like, "Yeah, we lost our home, but that's Mother Nature." I'm like, that's the news. Just two different people dealing with. Just one guy's cool, and the other guy's like having a meltdown. By the way, I'd be the first guy for sure.
That was the kind of cool thing about this show, is that you were seeing real people's response when they're hiding under a bridge or they're in the bottom of this warehouse. The way they're trying to figure it out and how they're coping with it. Some people, one Mexican woman was just screaming Hail Marys, the full prayer, just repeating.
Pretty on brand.
And then at the end said, "She did it. She saved me."
She saved.
There were a couple that were just like, "We're dying. We're totally dying. We're dying. We're dying."
That's how I would be. You got to get. By the way, you got to get that person out of the group. That guy ain't helping you.
The we're dying.
The we're dying guy.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy's not going to be good
That's
in a
most
crisis.
comedians. We're like going to be negative, I think.
Yeah, and not that excited about it, like not overly worried about it.
Yeah.
Like, we had a time on a plane once where it seemed like it was getting sketchy for a minute.
What were you on? Was it like a bunch of comics or no?
No, it was just I was with my family, and like an engine went out on a JetBlue flight, and it got rocky.
Ooh.
And people were like screaming, and my wife turned to me, and I was just like, "Yeah, this is about how I figures."
Fuck.
And she said,
"That's like
she really carries
calm.
that's how I react in a crisis." Like, yeah, I saw it coming.
we that's fucking hilarious,
isn't it?
we Gary and I remember we did Rochester, New York. Vito, who I tour with, and I saw Norden the night before. Jim Norden goes, "You flying or driving?" I said, "Oh, I gotta fly." And he's like, "I hate those planes." And I was like, "Yeah, they are small." That next day, we get in the flight, tiny ass plane, and Gary and I booked together, but some woman was just like, "No, I'm sitting." Like, I booked here, and we're like, "No, it's right." We showed her right here, and she's like, "This is where I am." And we're like, I just looked at him. I'm like, "It's a 40-minute flight. Who cares?" Whatever.
Yeah.
So they're behind me. I'm sitting in front, and it's just like the worst turbulence I've ever encountered. Like a little plane, like shaking so bad. To the point that like I like looked back to Gary, and we're like this, and then the woman who wouldn't give me the seat is just going, and that was like the only satisfaction we got. That we're like, well, at least she's suffering right now. We hate her, and
she caused the turbulence,
dude. It was so bad, and they just Top Gunned it. He just went like boom, just right back up.
Whoa!
Because he couldn't land. It was too windy.
Whoa!
And he didn't say anything. And I was like, are we about to get like German wings? Is he gonna like kill us right now? We're like panicking. But then like 10 minutes later, once he got another angle, he was like, sorry about that. It was too windy to land. I had to go for it. I was like, go for it. That's
I had to go for it.
But but the guy who picked us up was like, dude, I saw a plane Top Gun it. I was like, that was us.
Holy
like,
shit.
That was crazy. I was like, yeah, that's
oh, that's insane.
The flight stuff is like,
yeah.
I know people who have to drug themselves to fly. I've never been that way.
No.
God.
No.
Like, it is. You see some of those videos, like the people like falling up into the overhead. I'm like, I don't know how that happened.
I know. And I used to, when I was younger, starting to travel, I was like, what are these people drinking like Bloody Marys at 6 a.m.? It's fear.
It's fear.
They're like, this sucks. I'm gonna get hammered and get on this plane and get to Dayton. I totally get it.
Dayton fucked up at 9 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. Then deal with your stuff, but you're alive.
You're alive. Dude, I mean, look, there's something so rewarding about an air cocktail.
Yeah.
And especially like a Bloody Mary. There's something about like the thickness of that juice when you're airborne. It just hits you so I mean,
it's so perfect.
I do feel like I don't really drink
when
I am going to a gig. 'Cause why would I? I'm not going to day drink on my way to a gig.
Yeah.
But like on the rare time I'm going somewhere, like maybe I get there the night early or something, it is kind of fun to like go down.
Great.
Especially, I love those little pre-made RTD, like old fashions.
Yeah.
You just ask for a cube, you just dump it over. You're like, man, this is kind of an air cocktail.
You really, you get happy immediately. You're like, oh, this is what it's for.
You throw in a movie, you get emotional. I was going to Australia.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen the movie Prisoners, and I threw it on. I was like, first of all, this is the most depressing movie of all time. Yeah. But I was also wine drunk and had a muscle relaxer in me, so I was like, so fucked up. I'm getting like so upset. But,
it's the best.
It's a good flick.
Such a dream.
Yeah. But oh my God, that's the only good thing about the Australia flight is like, you're just like, well, none of this is real. I can just misbehave and get fucking lit. And then you just pass out. It's great.
I know. And all the warnings are like, the worst thing you can do on a flight is drink. Like, don't drink alcohol.
Why?
Yeah, it's the worst thing you can do because it dehydrates you and it'll mess up your ability to recover in the new time zone and all that kind of stuff. But the struggle pales in comparison to the joy that it brings you on a long flight when you have no show that night.
It's so true. And also just like, I just need something to look forward to.
Yeah.
You know? It's almost like just knowing the hotel, you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
You're traveling, you're away from, I need something to be like,
I know.
I did the bad hotels forever. I don't want to go back.
I know.
I want to be pumped to go to work.
Yeah.
And I'm not even like bougie in that way. I just want a good.
I just don't want to hear the guy farting next to me through the wall. How about that?
I remember I was on a flight with Phil Hanley once, and we weren't sitting together, and I was kind of like bummed that we were like, I was like, oh, we kind of want to catch up.
Yeah.
And we were across, and the guy next to me smelled so fucking bad. So I was like, let me try this. So I walked over to the guy, and I was like, hey, do you mind switching seats with me? It's just my really good friend. The guy's like, yeah, sure. And as he walks over, he sits next to the smelly guy, and he just looks back at me. There's nothing he can say. You can't be like, this guy smells. He had to just take the L, and I was just like, wow, I'm an asshole.
That is a perfect con.